readiness and what the different vendors are doing software-wise to build this brave new world of ARM servers. So what I wanted to do was to kind of do a show and tell, and also to talk a little bit about what Red Hat specifically is doing as a company, and how those of us in the audience here can engage together to build this world together. And those of you who are watching the stream or out there watching the replay later, the purpose here really is to build some bridges, right? Make some contacts here, get folks engaged. We won't have an ARM server ecosystem if we don't build one. So what I want to really get people to take away from today is, let's build this new world. Okay, so my contact information is on the slide here. It's jcm@redhat.com. If you want to get hold of me, I can put you in touch with people you actually want to talk to. So let's talk a little bit about what Red Hat is doing with ARM. So we've been engaged with ARM as a company, with ARM as an ecosystem, with ARM as a Linux community, with many different incantations of ARM for about 3 years now. We were a co-founder of the Linaro Enterprise Group. We have several assignees who work on such things as ACPI, multi-boot for Zen, Lava work, Fedora work, many other things. We've collaborated with Linaro on many other activities as well, such as the initial OpenJDK port, which was done by Red Hat employees, but in collaboration with Linaro beyond our membership, if you like. And we also have other teams that engage as needed to help get things done. So we've helped out with some of the firmware work and other kind of platform-specific stuff that we have a vested interest in. Beyond that, we've also engaged very strongly in terms of building the standards that will underpin the success of ARM in the enterprise. I enjoyed Kiko's keynote this morning very much, but I'm afraid I disagree on a few things, and one of them is the importance of standardization. I think that customers don't really care about ACPI or device tree or all these buzzwords they hear. What they care about is when they turn a server on, it works. And with our software, what they care about in particular is that they can get one build of a Red Hat operating system and choose what hardware they want to run it on. So for us, one of our key goals in terms of our early engagement in the ARM ecosystem is to ensure that we can have a common core operating system. And what I'm going to show today is part of that. I'm going to give you a demonstration of an operating system we are building within Red Hat that we've announced recently. And the goal of that really is we have one binary build of an operating system that runs across many different hardware targets. As users are familiar with today, that is the kind of minimum expectation they have going in. They're not going to get a different build for an HP Moonshot or an AMD Seattle system. They just want one operating system, and they just want it to work. So we're very, very interested in making sure that can happen. And that's why we've been beating the standardization drum a lot recently, and we will continue to do so. Beyond what I'm going to show you that's Red Hat specific, the Fedora community and the broader Red Hat ecosystem is already there on 64-bit ARM today. So Fedora 21 is coming up in another month or so, and Fedora 21 is enabled for a variety of 64-bit ARM hardware targets. You can, of course, also run using a software model if you so desire. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be enabling the just announced Linaro Development Cloud so that you can choose to run Fedora in there if you would like as well. Beyond that, it's my intention to enable something else I'm going to show you in a few moments that's a little bit more Red Hat. It looks a bit more like an enterprise operating system. I'm going to get that enabled in the Linaro Cloud as well, so you'll have multiple options. As an ISV or as a developer trying to get involved, you can engage in the traditional way through the Fedora community, get your software ported, get your software working, and you can engage as you would on any other architecture. Beyond that, we're also going to collaborate with many folks in the ecosystem to start to enable software on our kind of enterprise preview builds. So what do I mean by sort of enterprise, preview builds? Well, we have something we announced called the Partner Early Access Program, PEAP. We announced this in July, and the PEAP program is, or PEAP, I guess, because the P is program at the end. The purpose of this really is to provide developers and ecosystem members with access to enterprise-like operating system bits. So this is not RHEL, okay? This is not Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But it looks a bit like an enterprise operating system. And if you are an ISV or you are an end developer and you want to get your software ported and enabled on the 64-bit ARM architecture, this gives you a way to do that within the Red Hat family, within the Red Hat ecosystem that people are familiar with today on other architectures. We have regular builds. In fact, we're doing them roughly monthly at this time. We just released our third monthly snapshot. We're working on our fourth right now. The purpose of this really is to provide a common core enterprise operating system to support the standardization efforts that are ongoing within the broader ecosystem, and to make this available to SOC, ODM, ISV partners of Red Hat. And in order to engage there, all you really need to do is go to redhat.com/ARM, click the link, and request to become part of that program. I look forward to hearing from anybody who's porting software and wants to try these builds out. So before I get to questions and talk a little bit more, let me show you, let's do a show and tell here, right? So what I've got right here next to me, this is an AMD Seattle system. I'm just going to go ahead and boot it up. This is always the risky part of a demo when you do a live boot. This is some diagnostic data. You can ignore that. But in a few moments, it's going to power up. And you're going to see it going through, a standardized boot process that looks and smells a lot like, users are familiar with on other architectures today. Beyond what you're going to see here, it's booting from a local disk on a system on stage here. We're also working on network booting. So in our labs, we have a variety of hardware from, different vendors, including AMD, including Applied Micro. We have a very large number of Applied Micro Mustang systems that are wonderful and really helping us with operating system bring up, and they are well supported in our preview builds today. So for both different architecture implementations, we have these systems network booting, network installing, all of the traditional kickstart network-based installation pieces are working. Well, let this boot up. Yes, the link is down. That's right. There's no network connectivity up here. But it looks a lot like a Red Hat operating system. Go ahead and log in. And I can do the typical kinds of things. Look at packages and install packages and all this kind of thing. And these builds are available today. I'll show you the same operating system running on different hardware. So this is a Applied Micro Mustang system. It's actually running a kernel build I did last night, so we can ignore that. But it's running this exact same kernel, exactly the same bits. Remember the password. Could be foiled by not getting the right password. Well, one more time. I was logged in before. There we go. So this system is actually in our internal lab management software we call Beaker. So our engineers can just go into a web UI. They can say, install a system, put this build of the operating system on it, go. And what will happen is very much like an end customer deployment. A system will be provisioned. It will boot. Network installation will happen. If we have time, I'm going to kick one off here, or otherwise we can certainly go through that later on. But it's exactly the same kind of experience that our engineers and our customers are used to. You turn a system on, you do a network boot, you do an install, and it works. So I think where we are today is that we've really built a very good foundation. We've built the core platform. We've done a lot of core engineering within the Linaro Enterprise Group, within the Linux community, and we now have a point where we have monthly operating system builds within Red Hat, and community builds of Fedora that are available that people are starting to use in earnest. We have standardized hardware. Increasingly, that's becoming available to end users and to community members. So where do we go from here? Well, what I'm looking to do over the next year is polish this. If you want, as an end user, to consume this kind of technology, it's very close today, certainly as far as early engagement, certainly as far as proof of concepts. There's a lot of things we can already do today. But I think what we need to do over the coming months is really start to engage with the broader ecosystem. And I think the value we're going to get from today and from events like Linaro Connect increasingly is as a forum to bring people together who want to bring all of that value that layers on top of the operating system. I'm an operating system guy, so I love operating systems, but most people regard them as boring, right? You get an operating system, it does something, that's great. That's my job. My job is to make that as dull as possible for you, because that's what end users want. They want a really consistent experience. What I want to do now is I want to engage with all of you to bring that value that layers on top, bring that customer experience, bring that JBoss stack, bring the other pieces that Kiko and I may disagree about. But I think all those pieces can and will come. They won't come if we don't engage and work together over the course of the next year. And what I'd like to do now, I guess, is just have time for a couple of questions. If anybody has a question, how much time do I have here? 5 minutes? So I'm willing to take almost any question you have, if anybody has one. Well, that's wonderful. We've already answered everything that you could possibly have asked. I'm very impressed about that. So, anybody? No? Okay. Well, look, come find myself over the course of today. Come find the other Red Hat guys who are here. Engage with us. Go to redhat.com/arm and sign up and engage with our programs that we're offering for bringing up the ecosystem. And let's build this thing together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jon.